Hey guys, and welcome to this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm going to be talking about the new Chanel Le Blanc 2022 makeup collection. I already had this collection for the past 5 days, and as I promised to you in one of my previous videos, today's video is going to be a full review. I'm going to share with you my tips and tricks on how to use the products in this makeup collection and how to get the most of the products from this makeup collection. I'm going to show you close-ups and swatches in natural light, and I'm also going to show you a lot of comparison swatches. So let's go ahead and get started. If you're new here and you love luxury beauty, be sure to join the fun by subscribing. I'm a huge Chanel lover and I love talking about luxury beauty, so I would love to have you here. If you're returning, welcome back, dear friends. You're very highly appreciated. If you already own any of the products from this makeup collection, I think that it's going to be useful to share with us what are your thoughts on the products, and also I'm going to be sharing with you on ways to use the makeup products, because I know that a lot of you were disappointed with the highlighting pen. Let me go ahead and get it. The highlighting pen of this makeup collection. I found a way to use this product and I'm going to show you how I like to use it in this video. The star of the new RêVE de Chanel makeup collection, without doubt, is the Camellia highlighter. I already showed you the Camellia highlighter in a few of my previous videos, and I'm going to link to a video where I showed you a lot of comparison swatches to this highlighter, and I'm going to show you also, I'm going to link below also my first impression review of this highlighter, so that you can go ahead and see a lot of comparison swatches that I did of this highlighter and how also I use it on my face. The highlighter is absolutely gorgeous. I think that it's going to suit a lot of skin tones, if not all skin tones. It's very sheer and it adds pure light to the skin. The embossing on the highlighter, it has a 3D camellia print, which I find to be exceptionally beautiful, and the highlighter comes with a small kabuki brush, which I don't use because I prefer to use the kabuki brush and kabuki brushes for powders. Details on the Camellia highlighter are very beautiful. It has this lovely stitching. The new RêVE de Camellia highlighter looks very luminous. I've used it also on my eyelids, but on the eyelids it doesn't appear like a classic highlighter because this highlighter doesn't have coverage. It just adds pure light to the skin. And I think that it's going to suit actually all skin tones just because it's very sheer and it doesn't really add color to the face. It can be used as a highlighter. You could probably use it also as all over powder, but I wouldn't use it that way. I just don't prefer and I don't like using highlighters that way. There is one limited edition Les Quatre Ombres in number 384 Imaginaire. And I like the light peachy colors of the eyeshadow palette. Now you're going to see on my swatches that the top two shades have a lovely pigmentation. I think that Chanel improved the formulation, because last year's eyeshadow palette, the colors were very sheer, almost invisible when I swatched them. I decided to skip last year's eyeshadow palette because I didn't really enjoy the colors. I was able to swatch it at one of Chanel's boutiques and I didn't really enjoy the colors. And the bottom two colors are very pale. Now this is a Le Blanc eyeshadow palette, and as to be expected from a Le Blanc makeup collection from Chanel, the colors are quite sheer. So if you're someone that loves intense pigmentation, then probably this makeup collection is not going to be for you. This makeup collection is for those of you who like more sheer light colors. I'm wearing the eyeshadow palette today on my face, on my eyes, and I actually use the bottom two colors as a blush. I think that the bottom two colors are gorgeous if you use them as a blush. I wanted to share with you a few tips on how to make the most of this eyeshadow palette. The top two shades are beautiful. The shimmery shade, I like to use it all over my eyelid, but just keep in mind that since this is a Le Blanc eyeshadow palette, the colors are quite sheer. So you can get the most of this eyeshadow palette if you use the shimmery shade with a sponge applicator. The palette comes with 2 sponge applicators, which I think that are really good quality. And I personally prefer to use the shimmery shade all over my eyelid with a sponge applicator, because that's how I get the most beautiful color from this eyeshadow palette. If I start applying this color, the shimmery color, with a brush, I don't get this beautiful effect as I would get if I apply the color with a sponge applicator. So this is one tip that I wanted to share with you. Just go ahead and try and use this shade with one of the sponge applicators that come inside the palette, and you're going to see that the color looks really lovely on the eyelids. Another tip that I have for you when using this eyeshadow palette is be sure to use a primer on your eyelids. Whether it's going to be a primer or a little bit of concealer even is going to do. But if you try to apply these eyeshadows on bare eyelids without any primer, you're most probably not going to be satisfied because the colors are very sheer, and you need something on your eyelids, and you need some kind of a base on your eyelids so that the colors are going to appear more vibrant. Now, if you're a fan of peachy blushes, I think that you can use the bottom two colors on your face. This is what I have on my cheeks today, and you can see that it gives me this lovely peachy glow. I personally like it. It's all up to you, but I think that the bottom two colors can be used as a blush. I want to use those two peachy colors here as a blush. I know that this is not something that we usually do, but I think that those peachy colors are just going to match beautifully with my eye makeup. So I'm going to be using a smaller brush. This one is by Dior. It's a Backstage brush by Dior. I'm going to link the brushes that I used in the description box. And I'm just dipping the brush right here into those two colors. It is a little bit challenging to get the colors on the brush, but it works. If you are patient, you can definitely get the color. Now I'm actually changing the brush that I'm using, and I'm going to be using a RêVE 04. So I just want to show you how they compare. So the Dior brush is just a little bit bigger, a little bit fluffier compared to the RêVE brush. Keep in mind that also this Dior brush is quite old. So since it has natural hairs, it's already kind of very fluffy because I've washed it like hundreds and hundreds of times because I've had it for years. So I'm going to be dipping into those two colors again, and this RêVE brush actually fits better into the eyeshadow palette. It makes it a lot more easier to get the color. Now let's go ahead and apply this. Yes, definitely I prefer the RêVE brush for this small eyeshadow palette. Okay, so this is how it looks with the blush, and right now it looks very natural on my skin. I really like this peachy color. So now let me go ahead and show you some comparison swatches of this eyeshadow palette. These are the palettes in my collection that have similar colors to the new Le Blanc eyeshadow palette. And I also have, thanks to one of you guys, I also have swatches of the Le Beige Warm palette. This one is the Tender palette, but I also have swatches of the Warm palette, and I'm going to insert photos so that you can see a comparison swatch, because I think that this eyeshadow palette is going to be quite similar to the Warm palette, the Le Beige Warm palette. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to show you comparison swatches of the Le Blanc eyeshadow palette versus the Le Beige Warm palette, because I think that in terms of texture, and in terms of colors, I think that this one is going to be the closest palette, just because this Le Blanc eyeshadow palette has very subtle colors, and I think that the formulation is very close to what the Le Beige Warm palette used to be. The swatches of Chanel's Le Beige Warm palette that you are seeing right now were very kindly sent to me by one of you. A huge thank you, very special thank you. I'm not going to be mentioning a name, and I'm not going to be linking to an Instagram account or any other account because the account is private. So I'm going to be keeping this information private, but I want to say a huge and very special thank you to the person who sent me swatches of the Warm eyeshadow palette. You know who you are, so a very special thank you for allowing us to see swatches, because I didn't have this Le Beige palette from Chanel. Okay, so right now when I'm filming the comparison swatches, I don't have natural light, but I did a lot of testing before filming. I have two soft boxes that mimic natural light, and pretty much that's how the eyeshadow palette looks in real life. So there we have the swatches of the new Le Blanc eyeshadow palette, and now let's go ahead and try I want to show you swatches, comparison swatches to the Le Beige Tender eyeshadow palette because I think that these two are going to be quite similar. Okay, so here we have the Le Blanc Tender palette and here we have the new Le Blanc eyeshadow palette. I think that these two are the most similar. Now, keep in mind that I made the swatches of this eyeshadow palette with my finger, and of the Le Blanc eyeshadow palette, I'm swatching with the sponge applicators that I'm using these sponge applicators that come inside to swatch this Le Blanc palette because it is very sheer. The colors are very sheer and I get a better color payoff if I swatch with the sponge applicators. If I swatch with a brush or with fingers, I'm not going to get this color payoff and you're not going to be able to see the colors actually. Okay, then the next palette that I want to show you is the Tom Ford Bitter Peach eyeshadow palette. Now, a lot of people didn't like this eyeshadow palette. I personally like it, but I don't love it. So here we have Bitter Peach and here is the Le Blanc. Now the Bitter Peach eyeshadow palette has some tiny reflective particles that you can see in the sunshine only if you tilt the palette, but they are not visible on the eyes. The colors are, I would say, luminous matte. They feel a little bit weird. So when I touch the colors here, I suppose that something that people don't like, and most people that had this eyeshadow palette didn't like, is that the formulation is very weird. It's not the wet and dry formula from Tom Ford. It's not the cream formula from Tom Ford. It is just very weird. It's a little bit like, it does have a certain amount of grip. It's not my favorite Tom Ford formulation, so keep that in mind. It feels a little bit weird when I touch it. I don't know. At first, when I touch the colors, I almost have the feeling that I'm not going to be able to apply those colors on my eyelids. So if I use brushes, then when I start using brushes, they look nice. So I'm going to link to videos where I reviewed and used this palette. Again, not my favorite. I wouldn't purchase this formula from Tom Ford again. Then the next colors that I'd like to compare are those two peachy shades here. This is from Chanel's Légèreté et Expérience eyeshadow palette. These are like quite pale peachy colors. This one actually is not a peach, this one is beige, but this is a pale peachy shade. So let's go ahead and swatch this, and I'm going to swatch it right next to the peachy colors. Here I just cleaned my arm. You can see that they are quite powdery when I try to swatch them. They look, they show up on my eye, but just the swatches are not great. You can see that it's taking me some time to make the swatches just because the colors are, the powders are very soft in this palette. So these are the two peachy shades from Légèreté et Expérience, and then this is the Le Blanc Imaginaire. Okay guys, and then I would like to swatch also these two peachy colors here because this one is Soleil Neige collection by Tom Ford from a couple of years ago, and then this one is Rose Prisma. So let's go ahead and swatch those two colors just so that you have an idea. I'm going to swatch them here. I cleaned the Tom Ford Bitter Peach. So there we have it, just so that you have an idea how they look. Now, moving on to the new Chanel Stylo Lumière Regard, and this product was a little bit tricky. I needed a few days to figure out how to use it, and I'm going to link actually to my previous videos so that you can see how I tried using it all over my eyelids, and I tried using it in multiple ways, but I think that I finally found a way to use it and to make it work. So I can definitely use this highlighting pen on the face, and I can use it on the eyes as well as a top coat. So I'm going to insert a video now showing you how I like to use this highlighting pen. And then let's go ahead and use the highlighting pen. So the way I like to use it, I found it actually looks quite good, is when I apply just a little bit on the center of my nose. So I shouldn't have a lot of product in the pen, so I shouldn't squeeze out a lot of product, because if I squeeze out a lot of product, I'm not going to be able to apply it evenly on my skin. And the easiest way to apply this is if you are almost like not wearing foundation. This could be just a nice touch of light. because most of the days I usually don't wear foundation, and I found that on bare skin I can very easily apply this. If I don't have foundation, powder, anything, I can just very easily apply this highlighter. So when I squeeze out some product, I test the pen on the back of my hand, because this is the only way I can apply kind of evenly the color. You can see. And tap it immediately because it dries. Otherwise it's going to be patchy. So it's a little bit tricky. It does get a little bit of time to get used to using the pen. Once you get used to using it, it is a good product, but then you really need a little bit of work to figure out how to use it and to get used to using it. The other option is actually you can mix a little bit with your foundation, and when you are applying the foundation on these high points of the cheeks, you can just mix a little bit of the highlighting pen with the foundation, and again, it looks lovely. Okay. Just a little bit more on the nose. Okay, and now you can probably see this very subtle glow that's going on my face, but once again, you will need a little bit of time to figure out how to use it and to start controlling actually the pen. A little goes a long way with this product. And you can also highlight the Cupid's bow, which I never do because I have smaller lips and that's why I just don't do it. So I'm going to squeeze out a little bit of product on the back of my hand. Let's actually apply a little bit more and quickly tap it into place. So just brushing lightly and immediately tapping it into place. It does get tricky. So I'm not really sure if my camera is going to catch this right now because the glow is actually very subtle and I usually see it best when I'm in the sunshine. So that's where I'm going to be seeing the glow best. And now I squeezed out a little bit of product on the back of my hand. I'm going to get my ring finger, but not a lot of product, just a little bit. And I'm going to tap this onto my eyelid, and it just adds more light. The effect is beautiful in the sunshine, not that much visible when I am inside. So just keep that in mind. This collection is all about the light, all about the really subtle colors. Definitely adds a difference, but I'm not sure if the camera is probably not going to catch that because I need to be out in the sun, and that's where the whole effect is going to be visible. So on top of the eyeshadows. Okay, so I'm going to come closer to you so that you can see. And then the last way to use this product is right in the inner corners of the eye. I like to apply a little bit of product just on the lower inner corner, and it adds a nice touch of color here. But once again, you shouldn't have a lot of product on the in the pen. If you squeeze out a lot of product, you're going to lose the effect and you're not going to like it. Once again, this effect is going to be visible mostly if I go out in the sun. Right now here, inside, I'm not sure to what extent you're going to be able to see that. Okay, so once again, it is a tricky product, so you have to be patient and you have to learn the way to use it. Once you learn the way to use it, it is a good one, but you have to spend a little bit of time to learn how to use it and to learn how to control the product that's coming out from the pen. Now, I think that if you have the patience to actually learn how to use the product and to play with the product for a couple of days, you might enjoy this product. However, keep in mind that it's not very easy to use. Like, it's not just you apply the product and it looks beautiful just like that. So you definitely have to learn the way to use it, the way how it's going to work with your skin. Okay guys, and now it's time to use a little bit of the highlighter, and this time I'm not going to be using it like a classic highlighter, but I'm just going to apply it with fluffier brush. Again, I'm using the RêVE 04. I cleaned it in a little towel to remove the blush, but I just want to mix the blush, I mean the colors that we used from the eyeshadow palette. I just want to mix them with the highlighter, because I want this look to be more luminous, and I think that this is a highlighter that you can easily use more generously, let's say. Okay, and we can immediately see a lot more light in my face. For my lips, I used one of the new Rouge à Lèvres L'Extrait in number. I have to see the number. This is the nude peachy color, and it's 814. Once again, a very special thank you to the person who sent me swatches of the Le Beige Warm eyeshadow palette. A huge thank you, and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, bye!